Hi, so I am here with Karen Moran, and Karen is class of 1976, and she has graced us with her presence to continue this series that we've started with Bishop Ludden alums and friends who are sharing a little bit about their journey and talking about some of their connections back to the school. And I just wanted to start, Karen, by thanking you and everyone else who's participated in this for just sharing some perspectives and memories and thoughts, because I think the students and the other alums and even the parents have really enjoyed hearing it. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's really nice meeting you, Meg.
It's really nice to meet you. And I think we have a 3-hour time difference between us. So where am I talking to you from?
I'm in Southern California, Orange County. We live in Newport Beach, my husband and myself.
Okay.
We've
So are
been
you
here.
saying you have better weather than us?
Yes, of course. Today is, I think, 80 degrees. And I hear you guys are having a terrible storm today.
Yeah, I am talking to you from a kind of rainy fall evening, so that's true.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I want to hear about your life and where you are right now, but before I even do that, I want to take us kind of all the way back to when you were a student at Ludden and ask you to share with me what your personal and your professional pathway have been since that time.
Okay, well, first of all, my maiden name is Didio. Um, uh, I come from a very large family. I have 5 brothers and a sister. And when I was in the 3rd grade, my father, we grew up in Auburn, New York. I was born in Auburn, New York. So in the 3rd grade, my father got this job in Syracuse at Bishop Ludden High School. He was going to be the football coach, junior varsity, I believe, basketball coach and track coach, and teach social studies. So we moved to Syracuse from Auburn. So I feel like I've been part of the Ludden community since 3rd grade because of all the involvement with the sports and my father. So that's where it started. So when it came time to go to high school, of course I was going to Bishop Ludden, which all of us went to Bishop Ludden. And of course my father, one year, my father was my teacher. He taught, I think, every one of us.
No.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't imagine. I bet every student watching this is trying to imagine themselves sitting in front of their father. What did he teach?
He taught social studies, and it was difficult because all the other students. Well, first of all, my father was a perfectionist. Education was extremely important, which I excelled in my grades. I was a pretty good student. But being in his classroom, I'll just remember one time being in his classroom, and I think everybody thought that I would get away with whatever. So I was turning around talking to one of my friends, and of course I hear, "Miss Didio, please turn around and pay attention." And it was my dad, and everyone's like, "I can't believe he just did that." But it was hard, you had to work even a little bit harder because my dad, was my teacher. And he was in the school all the time. So all of the family went there. A couple of brothers and sisters, if they didn't wear the right uniform or something, teachers would go to my father. But it was a great experience. My father was a great mentor. He taught at Bishop Ludden, became the athletic director. He was there for 20 plus years. So that's how Ludden started, me going to Ludden. And then when it was time to graduate, my mom is a nurse, was a nurse, she's retired now, and I liked helping people. So I felt that nursing was my field. So I applied to Niagara University and got accepted and went there for nursing school 4 years. And along with a lot of my friends from Ludden, quite a few of us went there. So it was kind of an extended Ludden at Niagara University, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we still all remain friends to this day, even though I live 3,000 miles away. So I went to nursing school, graduated with my BSN, Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, and I initially worked at Krause for a couple years, and then I became a public health nurse in Syracuse, and my area was a pretty tough part of the city and the Indian reservation, the Onondaga Nation, which
Wow.
was an unbelievable experience. My parents were a little concerned about me going, you know, to different places, but all of the people respected the home, the public health nurse, and I would never trade that for anything. It was a great experience. In 1983, he wasn't my husband yet, but my boyfriend had moved to California to go to law school, and when he graduated from law school, decided he wanted to stay in California, which was a little upsetting. It was kind of devastating since I came from a very close family,
Right.
and to leave and go 3,000 miles was really hard. So I went to California, and I uh, became a home health nurse. I worked for the visiting nurses of Orange County. And there I started as a field nurse, and I moved my way up into a management position. So I was a clinical manager, and I supervised nurses, LVNs, speech therapists, PTs, OTs, social workers. And I did that for a number of years. Had 2 children, 2 boys, Sean and Patrick. And then once I had the kids, I started going part-time. But I had so much experience that they used me throughout the agency in different areas because I could do so many different jobs. And then about 10 years ago, I didn't like my job so much anymore.
Yep.
And my husband is an attorney, and he went into part of law called elder abuse.
Okay.
And he said to me, why don't you come into the office and teach my new young lawyers the medicine and work with them. So I thought, okay, I'll try it. And I came into the office, and I just loved it. It was just a whole new avenue of nursing and going through medical records. It really was appalling at first, just seeing, what was happening out there. But I've been here for 10 years, and my husband's given me more responsibilities. I now do all the administrative work, plus being the nurse consultant for the firm.
Right.
So it's been, so right now, that's what I'm doing right now.
So is it fair to say that you've made 4 different professions really out of your nursing career?
Yes, nursing is a great field. There are so many opportunities out there for a nurse. You can do so many different things. And, becoming a legal consultant is a big thing right now. And I would encourage, after you get your experience, it's a great field to look into if you're, interested in becoming a nurse.
Yeah,
So
that's
many things. Yeah.
fascinating. People tend to have a one-track mind, I think, with some of the professions. Nursing may be included in that.
Right, I think nursing, work in the hospital,
Right.
but not, I did work in the hospital, but I did a lot of home health. I did so many different things. And I really enjoyed being a nurse. If I could do it over, I'd do the same thing again. So I think all the kids out there in high school, if you're considering becoming a nurse, there are so many things you can do with it.
Yeah, that's great advice. So one of the things we talk about often in these conversations and with other alums is the values that people have taken from Ludden and carried with them their entire lives. I especially thought of this when you mentioned your public health job. Can you talk about having carried those values with you through any of these different points of your life?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Well, first of all, what I learned at Ludden and at a young age was that hard work really pays off. And, to be, what do I want to say, structured and disciplined in what you do. And I became that at a young age. In high school, I was very structured and I was disciplined in my academics. That was my thing. And I, as you go on, especially being a public health nurse and a home health nurse, you definitely had to be structured and organized, and a lot of that I used in the nursing profession. The other thing is, I was a hospice nurse at one time. When every time something new came out in home health, I was like the first one to do it. And I was a hospice nurse, one of our first hospice nurses here. And I think I had this one case I'm going to share with you. I think it's interesting and it stays with me. I was in my 20s, and I was a hospice nurse, and I had a hospice patient who was 29 years old, and she had 4 kids, and she was dying. And I went and visited her a lot. I did the treatments she needed. I talked to her husband a lot and to her. And when she died, the husband called me, and I went out to see him a couple hours after she died. And I said, "What do you want me to do? Tell me how I can help you." And he said, "I want you to be here when my kids come home from school and help me tell them that their mother has died." And I was in my 20s, I was scared to death. I went back to my manager at the time and I said, "How am I going to do this?" And she said, "You'll find a way." So I get in my car, I go to the house, and before I get to the house, I say a prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, "God, please let me say the right things, just give me the strength." And I went in there and I shocked myself. I just couldn't believe the things that were coming out of my mouth. And I believe it was spiritual, and that God looked over me and helped me through this really difficult time.
Yeah.
It was right at holiday time. It was at Thanksgiving, and now the family was alone. So of course, we tried, our agency wanted to support them. I baked pies, we got a turkey, we gave them, a Thanksgiving, and then Christmas was next. And so I went to my hospice manager, and we had a fundraiser within the agency to bring in toys for the kids and everything. Well, then after all this was done, our manager for hospice presented this whole case to Disneyland. Has like a governor's award, for community service. And we won the governor's award for this whole, case and how it was handled. And that, it was just so rewarding. And it's something that you just never will forget.
Oh, Karen, that is an amazing story.
Yeah.
One of the things that you and I had emailed about that we would try and discuss tonight was this sort of era of soul searching. It's like times have changed. There's a heavy reliance on technology. A pandemic hits. Young people are wondering, what do I need to focus on when I'm thinking about my career and my next steps? And you just demonstrated that feeling fulfilled by what you do trumps so many other aspects of life. Can you talk about how you would react to that question, or advice you'd give people who don't even know where to start about what they should do after Ludden?
Well, I think it's really hard when you're in high school for me, it was easy. I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but not everybody is like that. Right. And I think, first of all, they have to look within and they have to feel right about themselves and have confidence in themselves. And then, they might not even find out when they go to college, this is for sure what they want to do. They need to do their due diligence, and look at all the different occupations that are out there. They might pick one, when they're a senior in high school and think, oh, I want to be a journalist. And then they start out freshman year of college. No, that's not what I want to do. And that's okay. Yeah. I mean, some people after college are still trying to figure out what they want to do. So It's okay to feel confused and not know which way you're going to go, because it's ever changing. And you just have to have patience within yourself and confidence, and you'll get there. It just, some people it takes longer than others.
So all of the things that you're talking about make me, it kind of underlines the values that we always talk about with Ludden around faith and connectivity, humanity, caring for people first. And some prospective families may wonder about how people are affected by that very family, tight-knit feel that Ludden has. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think, when we did move to Syracuse because of my father's job, I felt that even before I got to Ludden, I was part of that community. And then once I was a freshman there, and the friends that I made, which a lot of the friends I still have today, and like Pat Donnelly, the basketball coach, everybody knows him.
Yep.
And he's a very good friend. He was the best man in our wedding. We still have a very close friendship with him and his wife, Lori. And that kind of friendship only comes around, once in a lifetime. And that is a friendship that was developed at Ludden. And that's not the only friendship. There's several other friendships. Also, the teachers there were wonderful. We were very close to a lot of the priests at Ludden because of my dad. And one of the priests, Monsignor Sheehan, married most of us. We still stay in touch with him. I think it was about a year ago. I went back I visit quite frequently to Syracuse, and my mother really wanted to see him. So we set up a lunch, and my sister and I and my mom went and had lunch with him. So this is a relationship that developed at a young age, but it's still, my mom's 87 years old, and that friendship is still there. And we turn to Father Sheehan all the time.
Yeah.
And he's just been an unbelievable person in our lives. And, Ludden is where, the relationship started. So.
Yeah. You really have your roots from that experience.
Yes. No, we do. Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I am so honored that you were willing to take the time to talk with us. These stories that you shared are really from the heart and amazing. And I would love to share this with prospective families, current families, students, and alums. And my hope, Karen, would be that they would take away from this that what happens at Ludden stays with you your whole life, and especially on that close relationship and faith aspect of the education. You really pulled from both of those things throughout your jobs and your personal journey, it sounds like.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention, my dad was there for so many years, and after my dad left, my brother Chris, and our family set up a scholarship in his name. So there is a scholarship, Dave Didio scholarship, that we give each year to a student, one or two students, and the student has to carry at least a 90% average and be involved in 2 sports. And I remember, because I miss out on a lot of things being 3,000 miles away, which is really difficult
I bet.
because we have a very close family and a close community. And I did go back one time, and I went to the ceremony where my father has passed away since, but went to the ceremony, and my father was up on the stage giving, the scholarship to one female and one male student. And it was just such a proud moment. My father did so much for the school and for the athletic department, and then to carry on that scholarship to two young individuals was just an amazing feeling.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine. And on behalf of everyone, thank you so much to your family for doing that. It's no, shock that people need scholarships and that they need financial aid and need support. But there are a lot of families who sacrifice to send their kids to Ludden, and there's families who can, pay for some of the tuition and not all of it. And the support from alums and families like yours who make it possible for someone to go, it can change the trajectory of the rest of their life when you really consider how much the faith and community components are really instilled in someone. So thank you so much for doing that and making it possible for someone else to have this experience.
You're very welcome. We're very happy to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just not us. I mean, other people give to the scholarship. When my dad died about, well, I think it's been 7 years now, um, the athletes that came out of the woodworking and sending letters to my mother, and so many people donated to the scholarship that it was absolutely wonderful.
I read a lot about philanthropy because that's the line of work I'm in. But one thing that never gets old is how good it feels to do something, to give back. And
Absolutely.
especially with your dad's memory, I can imagine that that was truly meaningful for you and all of the other people who contributed. So not a day goes by where we're not working with the staff, the leadership at Ludden, and not saying thank you. We cannot express our gratitude enough for people's generosity.
Yes. Yep.
Well, thank you so much. Don't enjoy that sunshine too much because we are having cold, rainy weather, so that would not be fair. But we're so grateful that you would take the time in the middle of your day to talk to us and share these stories. So we're looking forward to just, continuing to capture even more stories and thoughts from other people who've had experiences like yours and different from yours. So like I said, we're honored that you would share it with us.
Well, thank you very much for asking me. It was my pleasure.